Hi, everyone. Welcome to our second session today, Future of Advertising, Automated, Personalized, and Measurable. Before we start this panel, I'd like to thank our sponsors and partners once again for their support, thanking the presenting partner Magnon Group, our media partners Newsx and Brand Equity, digital partner Alt Balaji, knowledge partner TA Pi Management Institute Manipal, talent partner Talent Track, event partner CPM, online media partner Talent Town, publishing partner Tree Shade Books, and process partner Nine Triangles. Let me now introduce our esteemed speakers for this panel. For this session, we have our speaker plus moderator, Mr. Naveed Akil, Managing Director of Magnon Sankers. Next speaker we have is Mr. Manoj Lalwani, Chief Marketing Officer at 92.7 Big FM Radio.
Hi, everyone.
Then we have Mr. Vishal Jacob, Chief Digital Officer at Wavemaker. And we have Mr. Rajiv Dubey, Head of Media at Dabur. A very warm welcome to all of you and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Bhakti.
Thanks a lot for that, Bhakti.
Really looking forward to the session. Over to you, Naveed.
Thank you so much, Bhakti. And thank you so much for having all of us here. Hi, Manoj. Hi, Vishal. Hi, Rajiv. How are you all doing?
Doing good, Naveed. Hi.
Thank you so much for taking out the time and being part of IIBS. Very excited for this session.
Yeah, same, likewise.
Right.
I think let's just introduce ourselves a little bit for our audience. We have, the last I heard, we had over 2,000 registrations for the event. So that's very exciting. So just for our audience, we'll quickly introduce ourselves. And Manoj, maybe you can start.
So hi, everyone. My name is Manoj Lalwani, and I work with Big FM as Chief Marketing Officer, based out of Mumbai. Happy to be here today, and would love to share whatever I can and learnings that I have on this topic with you all.
Super. Thank you. Vishal, can you go next?
Yeah, Vishal Jacob. I'm from Wavemaker. I lead the digital practice for Wavemaker. Wavemaker is a part of Group M, which is again a part of the WPP group, and we're one of India's largest communication agencies. I've been in the advertising and digital marketing space for almost 2 decades now, and really happy to be here and share whatever I can in this panel.
Thanks, Vishal. Hi, Rajiv.
Hi, yes, hi everyone. My name is Rajiv Dubey. I am part of Dabur. I am head of media and marketing for Dabur, and I take care of all media. I am part of the central strategy team of Dabur, and basically we are one of the top FMCGs and one of the biggest in the region, one of the biggest from this region where we are right now, which is Delhi and NCR, and leading the way. And we have the best practices as far as the FMCG marketing is concerned. One of the best and most admired Indian companies to work with, Dabur, that is.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'm sure a lot of our audience will be looking forward to hearing a lot of the stories from all of you. And just to quickly introduce myself as well, my name is Naveed Akil. I am the Managing Director for Magnon Sankers, which is the language and cultural consultancy agency within the Magnon Group. And we're part of the Omnicom Marketing Communications Group. All right. To quickly kick off the session, the topic we have is very interesting, I feel, the future of advertising, right? And we all know it's automated, it's personalized, and it's measurable. That's where we're all headed. That's the transition we've probably seen over the last 15, 20 years ourselves. And it's going to be interesting to have a chat around what that means for a brand, what that means for an agency. Probably, how we've some of us have actually done campaigns around, how we've seen, users changing their behavior online. So, just to get some initial thought starters going, we don't really have a script per se, and no real flow. We'll just go with that. So, just to kick off the discussion points, I think, if probably, and we'll start probably with Manoj, what do you think, in your opinion, is the future of advertising? Where do you think that's headed? And how is, Big FM coming around to that?
Well, you know, advertising is always is going to here to is going to be here. It's not going anywhere. I mean, as long as there is a need uh, for brands to tell people their story, tell consumers their story, they will have to, rely on building communication, going to mediums to tell their story, uh, tell or showcase the communication they've built. So the need is always going to be there. Yes, there are uh, there are advancements that are happening in the mediums that consumers are using, and how they are becoming content agnostic and going from one platform to the other to consume content. And therefore it's important for brands, I think, to understand that it's not just one TV, one radio, one print anymore, where they can catch consumers. It's important to build uh, your communication strategy which can capture consumers at different touch points, because the touch points have gone up with digital advancements. There are even, for example, within the audio space as well, it's not just radio anymore. Now within the audio space you have these streaming platforms, OTT streaming platforms like Spotify, Ghana, Savan, where people are going to consume audio content. There is an emerging smart speaker universe like Alexa and Google Assistant, where people are going and spending time. So it's important for a brand to realize that it's a it's a moving consumer in that sense, and therefore it's important to build your communication plan, your sort of media mix in a way that you're able to get the consumer at various touch points. And with the current situation, the pandemic has only helped fast track the sort of digital adoption in that sense. So we are today seeing people adopting to sort of digital medium uh, far more easier than what they would have done. I mean, this we would have seen possibly otherwise in 2030. What we are seeing in 20 in terms of adoption of technology and digital as a medium, and important for marketers to realize that and build their approach according to that.
Sure, absolutely. Some very valid points there, Manoj. And it is something that I thought we'll have a chat about, essentially, of how big FM is adopting to the digitization. So we'll probably come back to that in a bit, and let's just take some views from Rajiv and Vishal also on how or where they think the future of advertising is headed. Rajiv?
Yes, so like rightly said by Manoj, that things have changed a lot between March and now, and the adoption of digital has been very, very fast. And although the TV remains the lead medium in the country, within TV there's a lot of competition, and TV consumption has gone up in uh, last a few months after the pandemic began and during the lockdown period. But if you look at the companies per se, or if you look at individuals, or look at students, look at the school-going kids, the digital adoption for them has been like phenomenal. People have quickly moved to online. All the meetings have started happening virtually when people are virtually working from home. So that way, digital medium has reached people. The only thing left to advertisers is to reach out to them through digital medium as well.
Sure.
For us, we in our system we call it ABC of advertising, which is Ara, Balia, Chhapra of advertising. Which are the most important markets for us. And these, if you don't know what Ara, Balia, Chhapra is, these three are Eastern UP and Bihar cities. And if you want to reach out to people over there, it was very, very tough through television and radio, etc. Right? But lately what has happened is that digital has become very, very important in these regions. So one of the recent surveys which we conducted, we went to one of the villages near Varanasi, where one of our researchers went, and she asked one of the ladies who work in the fields, typical Mazdoor, I would say, that आप टीवी देखते हैं क्या? आप टीवी देखने के लिए क्या करते हैं? She says that टीवी देखने का कहाँ टाइम मिलता है? हम लोग तो मजदूर लोग हैं, दिन भर मेहनत करते हैं, उसके बाद घर जाके सो जाते हैं, खाना बनाते हैं. तो पूछा कि आपके पास फोन है क्या? तो she pulled out a smartphone. So she has a
Okay.
smartphone and उससे पूछा आप क्या करते हो उसके साथ में? तो उसने दिखाया, she opened the phone, said that look at this, इसमें एक लाल बटन है, इसको दबा देते हैं तो गाना चलने लगता है और फिल्म आने लगती है. So basically she is watching YouTube on this, So all the teachers which are totally backward, people are not connected to television or something which is measurable right now. These people are also there in this medium. So very, very important for companies like us, because we are our distribution is one of the highest in the country. We are second most distributed brand in the country after Levers, which is we go out to about 66 lakh outlets in the country. Which is 6.6 million outlets, catering to most of the population of the country. And so digital becomes very, very important medium. Our spends on digital have gone up significantly over the last years, and so have the television spends also. So because we needed to reach out to more people in this pandemic, so we have upped the spends everywhere, but proportionately the spends on digital medium have gone up. So that's the future. I think it's very, very personalized advertising, very, very targeted, very, very focused, and that's where the future lies, in my view. Over to Vishal.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more, because I'm obviously coming in from the digital age, so I obviously would lean onto that. But I'd like to argue that the principles of advertising will never really change. Yeah. So as long as there's a brand and there's a consumer, the job of advertising is to kind of build the bridge between the brand and the consumer, right? I think the ways of doing that is probably going to evolve and change quite a bit. And I think that the future really lies in ensuring that the message and the medium to reach out to the consumer is going to be a lot more precise. It's going to be a lot more experiential in nature, and the message will be a lot more accountable. So if I were to pick, I would say that basically, or rather, I try to argue that the future of advertising would be a lot more precise, a lot more experiential, and a lot more measurable, or rather, a lot more accountable, if I may say so. And all these three things, like I just talked about, is going to be powered a lot through data and technology. In my view, if it's going to be a massive play around data and technology, and when you talk about automation and all that, whether it's the way we reach out to the consumers, it has to be done in a very personal manner, right? And for it to be personalized, you cannot not use technology. You have to use technology to a large extent. So what I'm noticing, or rather what we're noticing across brands, is that there is this entire play around how data of the existing consumers are currently being used to understand themselves a lot more better. So which we call as the first party data, right? So the first party data of existing consumers, we use that, we kind of understand our consumers better, and then leverage that data to kind of create lookalike of our audiences. So we've moved from a traditional placement-led buys to kind of more into audience-led buys. And I think that's the reason why we're doing that, is to make our advertising a lot more precise. And when you look at experiential also, how can I ensure that basically the communication is a lot more customized and personalized to the consumer? And again, you cannot necessarily do that without technology and data. So the way you talk to someone probably in Tamil Nadu will not be a little different compared to how you speak to someone in Punjab. And also you would look at different kinds of audience segments and kind of understand what kind of consumers resonate with what kind of content, and then create that kind of relevant content to them to kind of to make the kind of mix. So that's my point. And when you look at attribution also, again, the attribution is again a lot more data driven compared to what it was previously. And again, powered by a lot of technology. So when you look at it from these three lenses, I think that it has to be a lot more precise, experiential, and measurable, but powered by data and technology. I think that's where the future lies here.
Brilliant. I think very well summarized there, Vishal. Yeah, sorry, Rajiv, go ahead.
Yeah. I'll just add to this, so what Vishal talked about is basically, bucketing of the consumers. So you get the first party data from the people who go online and purchase your products, and then you basically profile them and try to target people in a similar kind of buckets and retarget them and remarket to them. So that's the advertising part of it. But I'll tell you about the internal sales part of it. So what happens is, in companies like ours, which are reaching out to 130 crore people in the country, right? So that's the mass of people which we are reaching out to. So advertising is targeted towards everybody in the country, right? It's not so focused. So although you think that you want to be focused, but ultimately you want everybody to consume your products and make your brands as big as possible. So in this case, what happens is that, granular level sales details, which are to the last customer, that is very, very important in our system. And which is something which we lack in the system, that, because our distribution chain is very long. We sell to a distributor sells it to retailer sells it to further consumer, and we don't know who exactly that consumer is. And that is only possible to know if you're selling it directly through Amazon or something, through a platform like this. So it basically works very well if you have both sets of data, you marry the two data, and then you try to target likely set of consumer, most likely set of consumer for yourselves.
I think I agree with Rajiv. For a FMCG scenario, uh, performance marketing is not the right answer, maybe, or is not the answer every time. It is an answer when you're selling in an e-com platform like an Amazon and all. But truly speaking, I mean, Rajiv would have more numbers than I have. But in terms of business, online still is sub 5% contributor to the overall business in the FMCG space. So there is a long way before it breaks that barrier to dominate the local kiranas or local mom and pop stores for a FMCG business. FMCG still relies on mass media, getting the message across to many at the same time, and therefore, like Rajiv said, TV still remains the dominant medium for Rajiv, because that's the objective, to reach out to many people at the same time with the brand message. Performance works for, say, brands like retail. So, say when I was at VLCC, we used to use performance marketing to drive specific leads or database or conversions. But at FMCG, uh, uh, a television is a more, or a traditional mass media is a more standard answer.
Yeah. Just to I agree with you, Manoj, on that, right? But again, when you look at television, also there are ways in which we can now use television, right? So, for instance, there are data-driven companies that can talk to you and tell you basically the kind of people who are behind the what do you call as the cord cutters or the cord shavers. And basically the cord cutters who are not necessarily watching television, how can you connect them online, right? So I think it's even the way we reach out to data also, the way we reach out to people on television can be powered and fueled through a lot of data.
Absolutely. Completely agree. Completely agree. Data should be used to enable your process of reaching out to the consumer, and should not be just looked at blindly, in my view. I mean, it has to marry with your end objective at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, the data being, the primary source, or, how you channelize and how do you personalize your entire communication. One of the experiences we've had, as Magnon, we work extensively with Nestle. And, we handle one of their digital platforms, that's Ask Nestle, and we do a lot of marketing for them. Where you are trying to segment the mothers, because it's essentially for kids who are largely fussy eaters, if that's for example something that you're handling, and you're trying to give them food options and menu options per se of what they can eat. And when you're trying to target mothers and parents largely of different segments, working parents, only working father, working mother, and so on and so forth, you're able to actually customize those messaging to that audience set and reach out to them, purely because you have the data that drives that that decision. And coincidentally, it's not just in English. You're actually going to the next level of going vernacular and targeting them not just in Hindi, or not just in Tamil, or not just in Marathi. You're actually going across all the languages, or as many languages as you possibly can, because that's where the personalization really comes in, right? And as we all mentioned, that's the next thing. It's data and personalization. That's how the entire future of advertising essentially is headed. So to that, and and Manoj, like I said, I'll come back to that point of how is Big FM adopting to this digitization. And and I feel, and this is personal experience, that I used to consume a lot of radio when I was in the car, when I was moving from point A to point B, and I would feel that's a lot of people would be doing that, right? So how has that changed, especially with the COVID, with the pandemic? How is Big FM coping with that? Has there been a change? Do you see that?
So yeah, see, terrestrial radio remains to be the largest part of our business currently, but we have an eye on the future that, like I said, that people are now platform agnostic when it comes to content consumption. I mean, earlier you were only consuming your content on TV, as much as matches on TV, Big Boss on TV, KBC on TV. Now look at the number of people who are consuming their content, these kind of contents on OTT. You go to a Hotstar, you go to a Woot to consume such content now. So it's a moving consumer, like I said. So, and we realize that. So during the pandemic, in about May, June, we launched our online radio. So uh, it's called Big Radio Online, Bro. Uh, and we launched that in May, June. So that's now available for people to stream and listen to. That's one end we're going to. The second area that we're focusing on is driving deeper level partnerships with platforms like Spotify and Ghana and Avaz, who are the streaming platforms, audio streaming platforms, where we've started deploying our content. So we gave Spotify roughly about uh, 250 hours of our content in May, June, and a couple of them are now the top or the most heard content on Spotify. Yadok Idiot Box with Nilesh Misra, Suhana Safar with Anu Kapoor. They are the most heard shows now on Spotify. They always feature in the top 10 in the country. So that's the other way we're using to start disseminating our content onto these platforms through the partnerships that we are building. Uh, we're also getting into newer areas like social commerce. Uh, so we have about 100 plus RJs in our own system who are all influencers in their own cities in their own right. And we've seen that, how youngsters are, instead of using traditional advertising, following their set of influencers now on social media to make their purchase decisions. So we've started social commerce. So we've developed a platform called Big Living. We're going to announce that soon, but yeah, it's ready. So that's using our RJs and the strength of our RJs to drive commerce for the products. It's different from e-commerce because we're going to only list limited products. We're going to list products which match with our philosophy. So we're not going to be an Amazon, but we're going to be a social commerce platform which will enable commerce using uh, a medium like radio and their RJs. We're getting into newer areas like gamification. We're building games around and these are all online games around our marquee shows like Sohana Safar and Yadok Idiot Box. So we're venturing into newer areas which are all beyond radio or are all in the digital space, uh, either for engagement with our listeners or building deeper reach for our content or for driving newer revenue streams or a combination. So these are some of the steps we've taken. Yeah, but moving in the right directions, I think, as we go along.
Absolutely. No, thank you for sharing that. And the session before ours, was a session, very interesting session with a speaker from Google and somebody from Alt Balaji, and they was trying to decode something called the consumer journey. And one of the things they spoke about is that when a user is trying to make a purchase decision online, they tend to get confused. And at that point, there is something that needs to tip them to make a decision. Influencers tend to be one of those people. So that was a very interesting, learning there, and it's already something that Big FM is planning on doing. So very interesting there. If I can come back to Rajiv, and Rajiv, if you'd want to, probably share of how, the diversity, and you spoke about the mass that you're reaching out to as Dabur, right? And how does Dabur kind of cater to that diversity of India? And and what is the approach that Dabur is really taking, especially online, also obviously with a mix of TV coming in?
Yeah, so earlier typically, if you go back 20, 30 years back, there used to be a broadcast medium, and now thing has become very, very sharply targeted, and consumers want them that you talk to them in their language, with their protagonists and their kind of language, etc. Right? So, like for example, if you have Amitabh Bachchan for say Dabur Chyawanprash, he might resonate to a certain set of people, certain geographies in the country. He may not cut across in south. He may not cut across in probably east also. So you have to look at very local level celebrity, very local. So you have to talk to them in their language, in their dialect, with their protagonist. Even the product names, the kind of product names our company has, those also need to be changed, to suit the local masses. For example, I'll give you one example of a kadha which was prescribed by Ayush Ministry, called Ayush Kwath. Okay, so Ayush Kwath is nothing; it's a concoction of various herbs which you can make at home also, and it's sold as Ayush Kwath in the market. The same thing you can't sell in Tamil Nadu, right? You have a different concoction over there, and it's called Kavasir Kudnir, in Tamil Nadu. So, and there's and it's very bitter in taste. Like here in North, what you get as kadha is very different than what you sell over there. So you have to do those kind of changes in your product, in your communication, in using the kind of language you want to use. So those kind of changes are happening. Earlier used to be very mass and used to be very sweeping kind of thing that एक ad बना दिया और पूरे देश में चला दिया. अब वो नहीं करता. Go to each and every geography. You have to get Nagarjuna for Andhra Pradesh. You have to get probably Rajnikant. He doesn't endorse any brand, but probably sometime in future Rajnikant for a brand. Then maybe Kamala Hassan for something, And every state you have to go and look at these people who can come and endorse your products. You have to have different branding. You have to have the same brand name which works here in North may not work in South. So those kind of changes are happening for the mass products as well. Apart from it's very easy in digital. You can launch something on Amazon for a geography, and you can get away with it. For our kind of business, you have to reach out to masses and look at the price points we sell at. So the lowest price point for toothpaste is 10 rupees. For hair oil is 10 rupees. Shampoo is 1 rupee. So look at the number of people you're trying to reach out to. You're trying to reach out to masses. So our game is very different than somebody's trying to sell a Mercedes Benz. You have to reach out to say in the country.
Absolutely, no, makes a lot of sense actually. And to this, I think Vishal, I'd kind of ask your opinion on this as well, because when there is so much of diversity, there is so much of localization, there is so much of targeting. What impact does it have on the agency largely, which is catering to such diversity and catering to a brand that requires such diversity and personalization?
Yeah, I think multiple aspects, right? The way it completely changes the way we plan, the way we look at targeting audiences, the way we optimize our campaigns, the way we kind of put messaging out there so that and get a sense in terms of who's resonating to what kind of campaigns and what kind of messaging basically, and then how do we track and measure and see what's working and what's not working, and what are the learnings that we can therefore come up with. So across the entire way of structuring a campaign itself, you'll find that there are areas on which changes need to be brought in, right? And so if I can just start off with, we look at the planning cycle itself, right? The way we look at targeting consumers, and like you said, there's so many diverse people, and because you have so much diversity, it will a unique selling proposition actually really work? And those are some of the belief systems that are currently being questioned right now, right? So should I have a messaging which will resonate with the kind of consumers that I'm looking to target, or should I have one unique point that I want to take to market, right? I mean, there's no right or wrong. The answer is actually great, but these are some of the belief systems that are actually being questioned right now. So the other thing that what you're also noticing is that when you look at the kind of target audiences which you're trying to create, we have the demography, right? So we want to target, let's say, a certain people within a certain region, within a certain age group, which is 18 to 24 or 18 to 35. Now, does that demography actually really work, or am I really targeting a mindset? So again, that's another belief system that's actually being questioned. So do I really need to go down a route of demography, or should I really look at mindsets and target people based on the kind of content consumption that they currently have? So there is also the element of optimization, like I said, right? So we probably need to change the way we go about optimizing a campaign. So when you put a messaging out there, and this is largely I'm talking about more from a digital lens. So when we look at putting a message out there, it's very critical for us to get a sense if the value proposition that we're putting out there for the consumer, is it resonating with the consumer or not? And if it's not resonating with the consumer, then how do you course correct quickly, right? And then therefore, all these things can be done through the use of technology and through the use, and also now a lot of artificial intelligence is being brought in, machine learning, for instance, right? So you create a set of 15, 20 different kind of cohorts and see, and within for those cohorts, you create five different types of communications and see which communication is resonating to what kind of cohort. And then you kind of let the machine learn that over time, and that gives you a good input into what kind of messaging actually works well for your brand, and then you build on that. So it's kind of a reverse feedback also that comes in, right? So you get a sense in terms of what works for your brand, and therefore how do I use that as an insight, as a feedback back to the product team, and then rework on that and come back with a stronger proposition for the consumers. So I think the changes that we are also seeing, and we are also trying to adapt to quite an extent, is to try and see how the ways in which we go about segmenting our audiences, planning for a certain kind of reach for that audiences, getting the right kind of communication to that audiences, and also tracking and see what's actually working. All that's been challenged and being questioned actually. So so that's a change that we're currently seeing.
Super, perfect. Thank you so much. So one thing that definitely seems to be key or underlying across all of us, and we're speaking about constantly, is the fact that there is an extensive need to personalize via even the language. I mean, even Manoj also spoke about catering to different audiences in different regions in their language. Rajiv, of course, spoke about that very extensively, even from a perspective of the brand name that, or the brand ambassador that you have. So that does seem to be something that we all recognize. So, and this is somebody who's just put up a question for Rajiv. What would you say are the barriers for brands to effectively embrace localization? It's a very interesting question. I thought we'll just pull that in now.
I think the biggest challenge is the cost, first of all. So to tell you, otherwise, if you have so I mean that was on a lighter note, that cost is important. But what I'm saying is that first of all, getting the right understanding from that region is very, very important. Getting the right understanding, getting the right data from that market. So once you have the right set of data, then you can take the right action on it. So most of the times one doesn't get to know, doesn't get the right information. So once you have the right information, right data, then you can take action on it. And thereafter, the marketer's job is much easier once you have the right data in terms of who are the people who want to reach out to, what do you want to tell them, and what product you have to sell. So these are 2-3 basic questions. If these are answered, then the rest of the job is on sales teams and the marketing team. Our job is to generate demand ultimately. Then sales job is to place the products in the market, and then so that consumers can come and buy it. So the whole chain, starts at the end of product and ends here as well. So one has to look at the whole complete picture in mind.
Absolutely.
I completely agree with Rajiv. India is a country, or India has many countries within itself. There are so many languages, such different cultures. I mean, we sitting in Mumbai, or we speaking Hindi, we don't understand Tamil, Telugu, Kannada. They don't understand Hindi. So if you have to talk to them, and they have different cultures, different festivals, so it's very important to get the right insight, the right consumer insight, like Rajiv said. And that's the starting point. If you have the right insights from the consumer, if you understand the consumer, their culture, their behavior, that's the starting point for developing any plan for that market from there on. Sure. So yeah, completely agree with Rajiv on that front.
Absolutely. We work with HP pretty extensively across India, and and just to add to what Manoj is saying, it's so beautiful because one country, but so much diversity, so many different festivals, so much going on across the entire year. There's so much of campaigns that keep going on. So you first cater to an Onam, then you're catering to a Ramazan, then you're catering to Holi, then you're catering to Diwali, then you're catering to Eid, and then there is Christmas, and then there's New Year. So it's all and you always have to keep evolving the communication to be able to target that variety and that diversity as well. So so that's, and a lot of brands are actually doing that very, very extensively. I read an article a couple of days back about Amazon, and one of the things that was written in that article is that Amazon has seen 3x number of Hindi users that have increased because ever since they've launched the Hindi version of their online shopping experience, and they've recently also launched 4 new languages. So it's very interesting of how brands are also adapting to this communication need and the need for that level of personalization, localization going forward. We have a lot of questions coming in, and we've just crossed half time. So I'll keep pulling in the questions, and we'll as they're related to most of the conversation that we're having. So one question that we have here is online advertising decreasing the dependence on celebrity faces to promote a product? And would it in any way benefit the advertiser financially? Well, that's an open question, and whoever...
So I'll
Yes, please.
so not really. So what is happening is that there are there's one animal called social influencer which is coming now. So there used to be a big animal which used to be a countrywide celebrity like Rajnikant or Amitabh Bachchan.
Right.
So now that job is being taken by these influencers, so-called influencers. So influencers, so in this country, I was reading a number that there are about 1 million influencers right now, or probably more.
Wow.
Vishal can give me an exact number. But, there are over 1 million influencers. So these million influencers are influencing a billion population, right? So there are influencers available for each and every thing which you have, each and every product, each and every cause, anything you want to do, there are influencers. So the job of the celebrity as an influencer is not going away anywhere. The only thing is that they get to do more volume of work, but at a lesser cost probably. So like earlier, if I wanted Shilpa Shetty to say come and say something about my brand, she would say I will charge say X amount of money. And I will be working with you for say 3 years. Now I don't want her for 3 years. I want her to say only for a week, right? So there's a pricing available for that. This is pricing available for a month. So, and all these people are working as influencers and ambassador for a long term as well. So these influencers work for a short period. They are short term brand ambassadors, so to say, and whereas you have a long term brand ambassador to answer this question. So to answer this question in totality, what I would say is that so there is like suppose if you go to Amazon, it's a very very result oriented kind of advertising where you want to get somebody to straight away go to the cart and check out. So that's one set of advertising. The second set of advertising is more persuasive, which you do through YouTube or you do through social media, etc., wherein you can use the social influences. So it's a combination of these 2-3 things put together. It's not only one or the other.
Just to add another dimension to it, the celebrities have also gone smart. They realize that their role has gone beyond TV and print, and they have built a large digital presence for themselves.
Sure.
There are their individual pages, handles, there are their fan clubs and all, and they're very active. They're making sure they're very active. And like Rajiv said, their now rate card goes beyond just, 1 year deals, so many days in 1 year for TV, for print, whatever. Now there are rates for per post, per Instagram story. Now, and you would have seen now brands are also using these celebrities not only for their traditional mediums, but increasingly for, online platforms as well. There are in fact campaigns which these guys are doing only for online platforms or social media, and you don't see them anywhere else going into TV or print and all. So celebrity or influencers have a role to play in this journey of building awareness or consideration towards your consumer. It's about them getting smarter and brands realizing it and getting smarter as well, and using the combination to go beyond just traditional mediums to online mediums as well. So they're not going anywhere. It's just a higher number of sort of rows in the rate card which is getting added in that sense.
Sure. So that essentially does bring in a lot of cost effectiveness for the advertiser then.
It does, because like Rajiv said, you can get a week plan, or you can get just an online or a celebrity only for social media, or one post or an online campaign. I mean, sometime back, Ayushman was used for I don't know what, I don't remember the brand, but there was this video that was done on it was called a gentleman or something, the man's company or something. I don't remember the brand, but it was only a social media campaign. I mean, or there are social media campaigns that celebrities do now only. So it is far more effective, cost effective than to sign them for a larger deal in that sense.
Yeah, but I would also argue that it's the way you use the influencers also that matter. Yeah. So some people can kind of see through influencers also to a large extent and see if this is a paid for activity. And if they don't come across genuine, it doesn't really add to the brand as such. Yeah. I would argue that basically that there are two parts to this, right? The new ways of building brands or rather to building some level of brand equity would be through conversations and not necessarily through visibility alone, but visibility that's been driving conversations, right? And that's where I think the role of influencers and all come through. In my view, essentially, when a brand is starting off in the early stages of its journey, the celebs probably make a lot of sense because it adds that credibility to the brand and gives it that natural that push that's required to kind of be visible in the right scenes, right? But I think as the brand matures and when we get down to using micro influencers or social influencers from on various platforms, we see that the rub-off that it has on the brand is far more positive compared to that of a celeb. Yeah. So I think we'll have to look at it in the context of two things. One, the brand growth that's currently there, and therefore what is the role of the influence of the celebrity for that particular brand, and over time, how does that micro influencers, how can they actually add to the current brand equity that's already existing? And if you look at it from that lens, I think you'll see that the ways in which now brands are trying to kind of drive equity through conversations has gone up comparatively to what it was probably a year and a half or 2 years back, basically. Yeah.
Sure. Makes sense. There's a very interesting question, a little granular per se, maybe somebody just trying to understand. And, we have a lot of people from the marketing, advertising, ecosystem who are also part of the event and listening in. So, question here, and Vishal, maybe you would want to pick this up, is how are conversations tracked from an influencer-based ad or promotional activity? And I think it's very related to what you're actually just saying.
Yeah, so there are multiple tools that are currently out there, right? Like Talkwalker, for instance, is the tool that we use. So it depends on what level of metrics are we looking to track at. So if it's a volume of conversations, there are various tools that are currently there. You can just pick any of these tools, and it'll give you a sense in terms of what are the influence that influencer has. At GroupM, we use a tool called Inca also, which is there, which gives you a sense of ranking for each of these influencers, and you get a good sense in terms of the volume of influence that this influencer actually has. Then there are far more evolved brands that are using influencers to see what is the ROI that the influencer is used. I know one brand, for instance, that's looking at tracking each and every single influencer. The way they do it is essentially that they will take someone as funny as Tanmay Bhatt, for instance, and get him to do a little bit of a promo jig around the brand, and then he will do his conversations, and then he will give a small little promo code out there, and then they will track and see how many offtakes have happened because of him. And then they will do the same thing with maybe someone who's a bit more specialist in the domain of beauty and see what a beauty influencer does. Then they'll go to a housewife and see what a housewife influencer does, and then they will get into a gamer and see what a gamer influencer does, and then they look at tracking the ROI set. So there are two parts to this. If you're just tracking conversations, there are multiple tools that can give you the volume of conversation that an influencer does, but that doesn't necessarily give you the ROI that the influencer does. But if you want to go to the next level of tracking, and if you want to get a sense of the ROI, then you'll have to do some of these things where you give them a coupon code and then track each one of them and see what ROI each one of them is giving you.
Sure, thank you. And just to add to that, and again, from both the brands, people here that we have, Manoj and Rajiv, what is your advice to the marketing community and the people who are, offering these, reaching solutions, these marketing solutions and promotional solutions to yourselves? What is it that a brand is typically looking for, specifically when it comes to, are you looking for more influencers now? Are you looking for vernacular communication now? What is a brand typically looking for, and what is the advice that you'd want to give to an advertising person?
So for me, it's combination of everything. It's like so whatever is basically helps me reach out to the end consumer and gets me sales. So that's what basically is important for me. So if you look at a product like say red toothpaste or say a Dabur Chyawanprash, so you have to use all these tools put together, and How much you want to use it, that's a very, very debatable thing. Now, thing is that you have to look at what is the penetration of your product in the country. Like if you look at a category like toothpaste, for example, category like toothpaste is penetrated to the level of about 96-97% in the country, right? So there your game is very different. Something like Chyawanprash, the penetration of Chyawanprash is just about 4 to 5%. So there you have a slightly different strategy. But however, you have to use combination of all these elements, and there's to be a very there's to be a celebrity chef who used to come and talk on TV. Used to say that namak swadanusar daliye. So this also has to be swadanusar. So whatever works best. For me, what works best is more of television than digital. For some brands, only digital strategy also works.
Sure.
There are some products which we have launched only in e-commerce platform, for example. For that, for example, we have launched a product called apple cider vinegar. So that is only available on e-commerce. So for that, only digital works. But a mass product, I would go for very, very TV-led and then influencer-led and very, very localized activity.
Fair. Yeah. Fair. And for Dabur, it becomes tangible because you can map it down to sales in that sense. But on
sorry. Yeah. So everything we do is measurable to sales. So any activity you do, it has to generate sales. If it's not generating sales, it's totally useless. So that's what we do day in, day out, and we have seen that advertising works. First of all, advertising works very well. Sure. And unless you don't advertise, you don't have a brand. You can't create a brand unless you advertise. So advertising is more important. How much to advertise is a question. Overkill, maybe that's not a very good thing. But mostly what happens is that you're not able to reach out to the consumers enough number of times. That's the challenge. Sufficiency is a challenge most of the time for us. Our products like us. We have so many products to advertise and so much limited. So the budget is so limited for us. So those are the challenges. But must advertise is something which we follow for most of the time.
Right. Thank you. Manoj, over to you. What is your take on this? What should an advertiser really offer?
See, I think every campaign has an objective that you're trying to achieve or an outcome that you're seeking, which can't be standard. Which will be different every time. Sometimes you will go for awareness. Sometimes you want to drive consideration. Sometimes there's an offer that you want to communicate. Sometimes it could be tactical or whatever. So each campaign would have a different objective or an outcome that you're seeking. And I think if that is clear, then everything will follow from there. Your choice of mediums, your choice of markets and languages from there on. Whether you want an influencer or you want a celebrity, your media mix, whether you want to be more digital first or you want to be TV or radio first. So I think there's no one answer to this question. It will really depend on what is the outcome that you're seeking from this campaign. What is the audience that you're trying to go after from this campaign or communication? And then you have to build these factors after that. We do campaigns which are single city, single market specific. We do campaigns which are national. We do campaigns which are region or zonal in that sense. And we devise our approach basis what is the outcome that we're seeking or what is the audience that we want to go after, which comes from a business objective. Like Rajiv said, everything in their system has to result into a sales. Similarly, for us as well, everything has to have a business objective, which will define the outcome that we as a marketer are seeking from the campaign that we're planning. From there on, we build on the next steps, what medium, what languages, what media mix, and so on and so forth. I don't have a standard answer because it's different for us also in every campaign in that sense.
Sure. And I can see Vishal smiling there. Vishal, do you want to weigh in on that?
No, I see. like I said, I think both of them are right. It really depends on the objective of the campaign and the target audiences that you're looking at, essentially. So if the objective is to drive, and I think also there's a layer of audiences that come into play, right? So if the audiences is actually skewed towards digital, and if you can measure and track, I've seen a lot of brands now gravitating towards that and stacking up your ad spends on advertising, not necessarily on reach, but necessarily on ROI. So I would look at each of these channels and see which of my channels are giving me more ROI, and then I would build my plan accordingly. So, so from that lens, it really depends on the objective. A lot of factors that come into play. So there's no one standard answer to that question.
Sure. And again, somebody's posted a very interesting question again. And why I say interesting is because, I kind of, I would want to hear the answer to this as well myself. And the question essentially is, assuming if today there is no TV, newspaper, and radio, do you think marketeers would still be able to do their job? And if yes, what would be the platform that would cater to their marketing needs? So somebody's just thought, let's take out the basics and let's focus on digital. But what's your take on that?
Yes. So a lot of countries have
sure.
moved to that already. So where digital become more lead medium, and yeah, it's possible. So if there's no TV, there's no radio, there's nothing. There's a mobile phone with everybody, and so answer is that yes, digital is something you can definitely build the brands. So I always give an answer to this kind of question with say a local or localized brand. For example, there is a sari store, say in a city like Jabalpur. How does that guy build his brand, right? That guy is also doing a business worth 50 crore, 100 crore in a year. How has this guy built a business of 100 crore rupees? Only by localized advertising, only by doing wall paintings, only by doing hoardings, or only by doing some kind of local initiative, just going door to door or announcing it through microphone or something like that. So that's the answer. The first thing is that you must advertise. How to advertise is something which is dependent on what's available. So for that sari shop in Jabalpur, maybe television is not a very good idea because it's very expensive. But there are other options. He still has to build a brand, and there are lots and lots. There are thousands and thousands of success stories in India, which basically will tell you that people have built the brand in the local cities, in the localized states, by doing this, by being present in the local kind of medium. So if there's no TV, there's no press, no problem. There are enough options available in this country. So this country offers different solutions to different people. So there's not one size that fits all kind of thing.
Sure.
Can I say, whoever has asked this question, I don't like you because I work for a radio medium. You can't take that away. Please don't do that. We have a house to run.
In parallel, everybody's also nudging Big FM to take on digital, and what is Big FM doing for all of that?
Yeah. The largest cost head is the school fee that we have to pay every month. So please don't start radio. No, on a serious note, I think the way you have to see it is that every medium has a role to play. And you have to use that medium for that role that it plays. Digital plays its own role. Radio plays its own. TV plays its own. In fact, as a part of the radio industry, we've been hearing that when in fact that's said about TV a lot, that how OTT now is going to kill TV and there's going to be no TV anymore. When DVDs came, we heard that, but the truth is no medium has gone anywhere. All mediums coexist because each medium has a role to play. So as a marketer, as a planner, you have to make sure that you're using and picking that medium and building your media mix basis the role that medium will play, and if that accomplish that outcome that you've set, or objective that you've set for that campaign. So yeah, you can't take anything. Nothing's going to die. Each digital has its own role, but TV, radio, print also have their own roles to play, and they have to be used for that. There's no one standard usage for all mediums.
Fair point. And I'm sure Vishal is dying to jump into that one.
No, I kind of agree. Yeah, even if you look at the digital brands that have been, that are getting launched on digital right now, a lot of the D2C brands right now are getting launched on digital. And even if you look at the digital brand, take any of the brands, whether it's Myntra's of the world, Flipkart's of the world, any of the brands that are currently there, right? They start off with digital and they try and ensure that they kind of build some sort of a brand identity on digital. They drive customer acquisition on digital. But when it comes to driving scale, they have to lean onto television and other medium as such, right? So after a certain point, all D2C brands are all digital brands, even though they live on digital as a means of existence. Basically, when you look at scale, and if they grow the category, you have to go beyond digital. So that exists. But I think to answer that question, if all other mediums go, then yes, it would be still be digital as the mainstay, if I may say so.
Sure. All right. Okay, so we've got a few more questions. Let's see if we can pick up a few more. Can it be said that influencers will work for all kind of products, or they work for a particular set of product marketing? This is again linking back to the influencer discussion we were having. And Manoj, do you want to weigh in on that?
I think it depends, honestly. See, there are some influencers who specialize in a specific area, like there are fitness influencers, there are food bloggers and influencers who are best to be used in that area,
Right.
because that's where their following is. People follow them for their food expertise or fitness expertise. But there are generalists as well. Like, for example, a RJ. RJ is a generalist influencer. In our system, like I said, there are 100 RJs, but we don't have a single RJ who specializes in one field only, because then his or her show has to be around that. We have RJs who are great foodies, but they still are generalists, because on radio, when they go and talk, they just don't go and talk only about food. They're not Sanjeev Kapoor at the end of the day. They have to talk about any and everything that's happening around them in the city, on a national platform, and in social media trends and all that stuff. So they are generalists, and therefore they can be used for multiple sectors and categories in that sense. So there are both available, and both are or should be used for their own specific areas. And I think the influencers will continue to do that. If their core domain is fitness, it's best for them to build their following on fitness and not just try and go into a multiple areas and lose out the focus that they've been driving. So it is for influencer also to try and realize their space and drive their following in that area. So I think once again, it will coexist in that sense. Both will be there.
Sure. Makes sense. So I think we're just in the last few minutes. So, just before we end, and again, because there are a lot of new, youngsters who are, listening in, and some aspiring from on the brand side, some aspire, people building their careers on the advertising side. So what is it that you would want to give as advice? And we'll start with maybe Vishal, specifically with people who are getting into the advertising arena, who are catering to brands. What is your advice to all of these people? How do they build themselves? What do they offer to the, to the brand? How do they, make themselves more brand oriented or brand friendly, maybe?
Yeah, I think if anyone is looking to get into advertising at this point in time, I think there are 2 or 3 critical elements that might come handy. One is a very deep sense of curiosity to see what's working and what's not working, right? I think like I said, advertising is becoming a lot more measurable, and therefore asking the right kind of questions to know what's worked for you, why has it worked for you, what could get better, and how can it get better. I think that stems from a value of curiosity, and I think that would be a very, very important value to bring on board for any advertising professional coming into this industry right now. I think the another area of element of value that one can bring on board is the element of consumer insights, right? So I think all problems, the multiple brand problems are over there, but all the answers lies with the consumer, and you're able to understand consumers and understand why a consumer does the way he or she acts in a certain way. I think so that level of understanding would obviously be helpful. And third, obviously, I think that there is, I think, a good amount of data and technology that's going to rule and take over, advertising over time. Maybe some appreciation on that would obviously be great. I think these are the three things I would say.
Super. Thank you. Thank you so much, Rajiv. Your advice.
Yeah. So my advice would be that there's a lot of data available, and there's a lot of data available about the products, about the media, about everything, and one should very thoroughly understand the data, read the data, and do right interpretation of the data. Because the biggest challenge one faces is used to face earlier is that there's not enough data available. Still, in digital ecosystem, there's it's a bit of a black box in some areas. However, whatever information you have, you should study it thoroughly and then use it for decision making. Because the most important thing is that the data should be understood very thoroughly, and you should make a right decision. You'll not be able to make a decision until you've understood what is needed to be done, right? Then execution is easy thereafter. And whenever we talk about advertising, we always talk about the result, the end result. But before the end result, what is important is that you should do a very good homework and understand your consumers, get the right insights from different parts of the different people, and then make a right decision for right choice for the brand. So data is something which I would like to say that you should spend as much time on data as possible. The rest of the things are easier thereafter.
Thank you so much, Rajiv. Manoj, your last piece, your last advice to everyone listening.
I don't know, I'm not a guru, but yeah, like Vishal said, be curious, be observer. I think there's every set of insight available around our own ecosystem. It's all about solving a problem for the consumer. I mean, all the companies are doing that. I mean, right from a new company like an Ola, Uber, to a Zomato, to traditional companies, they're all solving a problem or a need that the consumer has or had. You just need to be an observer and see what problem are you solving or can you solve. And there are insights built in and around your ecosystem. So be an observer, be curious, and I think you'll find insights, and that's what you should intend to do, to find insights. If you find insights, everything will fall in place from there on. It's just very important to get the right consumer insight. If that is wrong, then you're solving a wrong problem.
Right.
Do that. Start right, get the right insight. If that's in place, I think it will fall into place sooner or later.
Super. Thank you so much. And thank you again for taking out the time and having such a lovely session. Before we close, I just want to take out a minute on behalf of the IIBS team to thank all our sponsors and partners, our presenting partners, Magnon Group, our media partners, NewsX and Brand Equity, digital partners, Alt Balaji, knowledge partners, TAPI Foundation, TAPI Management Institute, talent partner, Talent Track, event partner, CPM, online media partner, Talent Town, publishing partner, Tree Shade Books, and process partner, Nine Triangles. Thank you so much, everyone. It was a pleasure. It was a wonderful session, and thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
so much.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all. Thank you all for joining us.
Thanks, Bhakti.
Yes, the discussion was really interesting and kept us engaged throughout, as we can also see in the comments pouring in. Also, thanking everyone who streamed in and attended the sessions today. We have 3 more insightful and engaging discussions coming up tomorrow. So do stream in and join us tomorrow as well. Thank you and have a great day ahead.